have heard that before that I might have copied something. It is not true at all. As a matter of fact, I'd like to welcome you to a new podcast called Whiskey Fireside Chat.
Oh, look at this. All right. This is the way to start a day, ladies and gentlemen.
Wireless and whiskey was that. So
nice. All right.
I'm gonna drop these because my hands are gonna be busy in the next phase. So you have a podcast. You invite people to drink. You take advantage of them being half drunk, and then ask very serious questions.
I do that.
Oh, see, you learn. There's nothing. But first question would be rock, neat.
Rock for me, yes.
Rock for you.
Rock
okay,
for you, yes.
Should you help yourself?
There we go. All right.
I don't know. Well, what's a big rock?
I'm taking 3. Yeah, they go together. I don't know why.
This could be interesting. So, where is the gold in this industry? And by the way, I don't know if you ever changed the whiskey.
Yeah.
We do anyway. And to you, I'm sorry. Democracy was a great concept, but it's gone. Huh? So, where is it happening now? You, by the way, while you sip your whiskey and tell me how is it, ClearSky works in a special area of the industry. You support some of the regional, rural even carriers that are in the US, quite a few of them, because such a big place. But these are still sizable, I would say.
Yeah, so we have about, so the way our gold for the last few years has been A to P. And so what we do is we connect to all the aggregators on one side, and then we connect to about 45 carriers on the other side, both in the US, Canada, and a little bit in the Caribbean as well, and OTT providers. And we deliver A to P messages back and forth because these large carrier aggregators don't really want to connect to all these smaller carriers. And so we're able to do that. And for the carriers, these guys, 100,000 subscribers, 50,000 subscribers, whatever it is, they usually don't have A to P departments. They don't know much about it. And so they look to us to be that A to P arm for them. And so we continue to do that. We rev share with those carriers. And so we collect everything from the aggregators. We take care of all the trouble tickets. We do all that. And so to protect that, now we have to look at kind of what's next, right? And so you saw that chart during the PowerPoint presentation 2 presentations ago. And they talked about how SMS isn't really falling off. We don't see that either. We've had record years for the last 3 years. But RCS is coming, right? We all believe RCS is coming. I think we all believe. I don't know, but I do. And so we don't want our carriers, the smaller carriers in the U.S., to be left out of RCS. And so that's why we've positioned ourselves to now be at a place in partnership with Google and others. We're looking at the carriers that Google might not want to go to directly, and we'll be in the MSP program with them, where we're able to turn those carriers on for core enablement, we call it, of RCS, so that Apple and Android can work together on these smaller networks. And we do all the authentication for Google and do all that for RCS. And once that gets done from a core perspective, then we'll start doing RCS for business and a couple other things that we're doing.
So interesting, you mentioned the presentation from Gavin, and it is true in our numbers. We've already heard, because we are collecting data from the industry, obviously, and from you, we'd like to hear from you as well. But the US has got still a double-digit perspective of growth in the US in SMS. That's a very healthy thing. But the RCS win is potentially the new thing coming, the new kid on the block. Now, for this new kid on the block, we have seen in other markets as well, talk about outside of the US, the Google Cloud being turned off. So Google until now was offering to every operator, my understanding, pretty much support on RCS, at least as you say for P2P.
Yep.
We're now at least 7 countries we've looked at, which effectively operators were reduced, if not cut down, the service. Now, what does it mean? And somebody like you might have some of the solutions. So are there opportunities to go back to these operators, medium, large, whatever that is, and say, well, if Google doesn't do it, here it is? Is that what we're going to see?
Yeah, next? So, I can't obviously speak for the larger companies, but my understanding of it is that Apple and others wanted each carrier to have their own Jive instance, right? That was the whole thing. And so they had the Google Guest Cloud, but they're shutting that Guest Cloud down. And so as they shut that Guest Cloud down, again, that's my opinion, some carriers are going to get left behind. And so Google realizes that there's a lot of carriers now that they have to connect to in order to authenticate these messages. And so they're going to other companies like ours, ClearSky, and saying, if you want to turn these carriers on, we'll work with you in a partnership. So we're working with them now. And we've been working with them for the last few months. We've been working with our carriers to work with Apple. And so there's a company in the United States called Strata Wireless. They're about, I think, 15,000 subscribers in Utah. And if they were to wait for Google to prioritize them, well, they'd be waiting as long as it takes that church over there to be built. And so they came to us, and we talked to Google. And so what we're doing now is they have their own cloud instance now. And Google connects to us, we connect to them. And on, 2 or 3 Fridays ago, whatever it was, we were able to start sending Apple RCS messages and Android RCS messages through that carrier, through their own Google Jive instance. So we still have a ways to go, right? Because not everybody has their own priorities, but for those of you who understand the Apple Carrier Bundle, right? They have to put that in there, push it out to devices, and all of that. So we're in the process of getting that certification done. And then once we get that done, then it'll go into the carrier bundle, and then we can just start turning carriers on as fast as we can, and as fast as Google will allow us.
Well, thanks to the lovely drink.
It's a great idea, yeah.
Your ideas, well, I'm glad we...
Whiskey and wireless in your browser, it'll come right up, yeah.
Here's a little promo plug. But I think we're reading into the tea leaves, but what we're really saying is there is a model out there to bring all of our operators, and you might be one of the first one to try out with a rural carrier. Strata Wireless.
Yes, as far as I know, we're the first ones non-Google, right, to get the carriers working for Apple and for Android passing through. And so we're actually doing another thing as well, which is, we believe at ClearSky, we do believe in RCS, right? We believe in the power of RCS, how it looks, the ROI you get from RCS. So as part of this service, for every carrier that we turn on, we're building an RCS agent for that carrier. So now when someone comes in to Strata Wireless and picks out a new phone, the first message they're going to get from Strata Wireless is an RCS message. And it's going to say, welcome. It's going to have a video welcoming them. It's going to have carousels to talk about the plans that they have and all of that. And then based on their device, right, we'll be able to later say, hey, it's Black Friday, and you have this phone, and here's a great accessory that you should try. And now the subscriber now knows that it's from the carrier, right? Because that logo is on the inbox, which we all think is very important. The verification is there. And so now we think that that's going to empower the carriers to use RCS to make more money.
So you're using the same model, which has been in the past, compliance very big in the US. Mm-hmm. You also been the forefront, the face of it. So I assume eventually all of the other sender ID registrations, all of those management, are you also going to be looking or driving that? Yeah,
so we'll be doing all the campaigns from the aggregators, from our fine aggregator partners, some of them that are here. They will all go, and Google will actually do the final delivery, but we'll authenticate everything, and then we'll vet all of that with various vetting agencies that work in the U.S., and we'll take care of all of that for the carrier and for Google.
Great. I'm the only one drinking, so I'm getting worried. But
I drank.
Nothing. That's cheating. That's cheating.
There we go.
But in any case, let's go back to some of the discussions about RCS and where it's coming next. Do you think that we are ready to see it outside of the US, in other countries, geographically? Yeah. Are you looking at somewhere else that could be the same model could be applied? I mean, I don't want to say Europe, but in case anybody's interested.
Yeah. We'll take money wherever we can get it. I got 6 kids. No, I'm kidding. The Caribbean is a place that we work a lot with A2P, and I really do believe in the Caribbean that there's some trust issues in the Caribbean when it comes to A2P. There's some gray routes, there's some AIT that's going on in the Caribbean, and so I think that we'll work with our partners in the Caribbean country by country to launch RCS and to launch these agents. The other part of the Caribbean is they do a lot of business on WhatsApp, as you could see from that graph two guys ago. And that's fine, right, for WhatsApp, but the carriers a lot of times are left out of that revenue stream. And for me and for ClearSky, it's really just about finding ways to keep the revenue in the carrier, to keep the carrier in the revenue stream. I mean, that's really what we're trying to do with all of our products. We have RCS and we have network APIs for these regional carriers. And really our job is to protect the subscribers as much as possible, but then also to let them earn money off of their subscribers where they've built the network and done the work to do that. We feel like the revenue should be in the carriers' stream there, and we share that revenue obviously with the carriers.
The percentage of question will come to my mind. The first one, you mentioned the security, the integrity of a channel versus A2P. How do you make sure, we heard yesterday from ENIA, firewall vendors, that there is a lot of work when you sit down on RCS on that front, learning from SMS.
Right.
Really. So where do you think we are in that scale from 1 to 10 on, well, we've really done a better job, this is a secure channel, all done, tick, 10, or still need to think about something, 7, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I think it's just a little early, right? Because fraudsters always find a way to be fraudsters, so we'll see how they do it. I think Apple stepping up to the plate and saying you need to change the way that you authenticate to Google and to RCS was a big thing. They're now using the entitlement server, which is deep inside the infrastructure of the carrier, and that's what we attach to. And then there's tokens back and forth and all of the things that they do. So we'll see. I mean, right now I think we're in a good place, but I also, I will always worry, because that's my job, but I will always worry that they'll find a way, right? And we need RCS to be that secure end-to-end channel that we talk about. And so right now, I'll say a 10 just because we don't have many messages going through.
Okay.
But we're certainly going to keep an eye on it and figure out, what we have to do to keep it there.
Okay, well, that's the surprising 10, but I do like your point that it wasn't mentioned, the fact that by using before, at least in front of me, by using the entitlement server, you're really talking about a different grade of security technology. But the SS7 network, 36 years old or 46 years, that's 50 years old, very soon, would have been. So yes, I mean, there is a better infrastructure behind it,
right,
on top of sender ID and all the things we're talking, registration, verification, we're talking about. But you were talking to operators. That was my second question. And the operators that are probably not the very big operators, not the one that have got hundreds of people working for them on the next generation of products, etc.
Right.
What level of preparation about RCS, even SMS, I should say, that do they have? Do they understand some of the basic, or are they asking for you and say, we need one of those?
Yeah, it depends on the carrier, but I did a QBR, or Erica, who's out there, did a QBR with a carrier early, at one of our conventions this year, and we were talking about A2P, and the what was he? The COO of that carrier said, "What is A2P?" And I said, that's the thing I send you a check for every month. So they just, they don't deal with that. They're building towers. They're doing their marketing. They're trying to get subscribers. They're doing all of that stuff, and they just want us to take care of all of their messaging. And so that's what we're doing, right? We're doing that with SMS and MMS, and now we call it iCode Connect. And so it's P2P, it's A2P, it's RCS, it's network authentication, and then it's some optimization. But the important thing on RCS, if you can think about another line down, is its core enablement. So, because that's really what they care about, right? What they care about is if a regional carrier in the US has a subscriber and he's sitting next to his friend who has AT&T, they just want it to work the same. right? And so, they want to see those stupid little dots that says, hey, this guy's, texting. They want to see videos come through good. They want all of that. And so they look for us to keep them on par with the market. And, that's kind of what we're in charge of to do for these carriers.
I suspect you might have just provided at least the first part of the answer, but I still remain at least curious. How do you convince a network which is 15,000, 30,000, millions as well, but of customers to join on the RCS bandwagon? What's your selling point? If a starting point is what is A2P, how do you sell RCS to them? Because that's a tough start.
Well, I try to be charming.
Oh,
and if that doesn't work, then what we do is we talk about, we sell through fear, I guess, right? So again, it's about AT&T has this, T-Mobile has this, Verizon has this, and you're going to need this. Their customers actually ask them for it. I don't ever think RCS is going to be something that a lot of customers even know is happening. I just think they're going to see that their messages are a lot better. And we've already seen that, right? When we're at Christmas, I mentioned I have a lot of kids, and so I bought a lot of things from Best Buy, and I would get an SMS A2P message from 332211, which is the Best Buy code, and then I got a Best Buy RCS message right behind it. And to see the difference between those two things was amazing, right? So we have our own ClearSky agent that we created, and so we show the carriers, and we say, hey, this is what's coming, this is what your customers are going to be asking for, and you can't afford to fall behind the tier ones. And we do care about the regional space, and we've done very well as a company the last few years, so we're able to be very flexible with them and get them involved in it at a very, very cheap price, inexpensive, I guess. And then with the rev share, we plan on them making money, right? And they've already seen that in the A2P market, so there's a little bit of trust there to say, trust us, we're going to get it all working. And they know they can't talk to Google. They've tried, and they cannot. So, now they're looking for another solution.
Okay. Well, we'll keep them, from a MEF side, we'll keep them informed. This is a very developing market and marketing approach, so for the RCS. So obviously, we're starting to see operators asking for solutions and players like you coming up. But talking back on what you do, what do you think is the most valuable lessons you've learned from the A2P world that you need to apply to things such as RCS and everything else? Because you've been doing this for 20 years at ClearSky.
I've been doing it for 20 years. We've been doing A2P for a little less than that, but not too much. But yeah, so A2P has really evolved, and we saw probably like a lot of people did in 2020 during the election in the US, A2P was used a lot. And since 2020, our A2P volume has gone up tremendously, and we enjoy that. And so, part of the thing is, kind of you made a mention to it before, a lot of our carriers, because they're so small, people, no offense to anyone in this room, but people come to my carriers and say, hey, you should put in a firewall. Well, my carriers are 30,000 subscribers. Like, they could put in a firewall, sure, they could stop some P2P stuff, but in the end, like, they're going to pay more for the firewall than what they save, right? So now we're in the SMS, MMS business, and what we do is we take the flat files, run them through something, and now we can tell them, not real time, but we can say, hey, there's some things coming on P2P that you need to correct. And really, it's just about talking to the aggregators. I mean, the aggregators really understand that things should not be going down the P2P route. And we've talked about this for years, right? But for the smaller carriers, they know there's no firewall, and sometimes there's some binds that people can get to. And we just talk to the aggregators and correct that, and we do that. With RCS, we shouldn't have that kind of problem just because of the way RCS for Business works. It's a little bit different. And so I think we'll protect a lot more of the revenue with the carriers. So now it's just going to be about looking for fraud, looking for things that are going to cost some money, and then in the Caribbean, trying to show them how they can market RCS so that so much money doesn't go to WhatsApp and isn't shared with the carriers.
Well, we have just talked about some of the other solutions and potential, but let's stick with RCS for a bit. This is potentially a bit more European because of travel restriction, potentially less Asian today. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Crowd, why don't we share some of your learnings with them? Because a lot of the operators are outside of the 8 countries, I would say so far, countries are. Typically the Google countries are still waiting. What would you tell them that they should be thinking of doing for launching, for thinking about RCS and so on? You're
Well,
doing it now.
Yeah, I mean,
Connected it.
so what we're trying to do is, especially in some of the regional spaces, so we think of these guys as small carriers, and they are, but in their particular area, like they're some of the biggest, employers. They're one of the biggest companies in that area, and so what we're doing is by building these RCS agents for them so that they can start building these agents. Now their subscribers are going to start getting RCS and seeing it. And some of their subscribers are running companies that are in those areas.
Yeah.
So now those guys are going to go to that carrier and say, hey, how do I get this cool messaging? And then when they do that, then that carrier working with us is going to be able to go to the enterprises. We're going to be able to build agents for them, and we're going to be able to send RCS messages. So we're going to replicate that in the Caribbean and in other places to say, if you're a carrier, don't just wait for RCS for business to come to you. Like, let's create agents for the carrier. Let's send them out. Let's have your enterprise teams go out to the enterprises in your area and start building these agents and doing things. And it'll just create the ecosystem in that area. And we'll be a part of all that. And the carrier will be a part of all that. And that's exciting for the carriers because in the end, Strata Wireless, I don't think they're here, but they were last night. But they have 16, whatever it is, 1,000 subscribers, but they have to build towers. They have to go to 4G, 5G. So if you take a napkin and you start going, all right, I'm going to give a subscriber a phone for this point. I'm going to build this tower. I'm going to do all this stuff. Like, how much do you have to charge them a month to make your money back, right? It's a lot. So now we have to start finding additional revenue streams. So now if they can go out to enterprises, build agents for them, start sending RCS and making money per message, that's what we're going to teach the carriers to do. And I feel like that's going to create a whole new ecosystem, and it's going to, get me invited back here next year.
Well, I'm sure if I get to drink more whiskey, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But if I have to summarize potentially what you just said is almost like drink your own champagne, somebody will say drink your own whiskey here, to the operators, that's to the carrier messages, starts with your engagement, get them to see and experience the service themselves. I can see that I've got so many questions, but Susan is lifting the microphone for anybody. Any of you would like to ask questions? I know you're all upset. I am sorry. It is good. Let's go back to, I'm digging on it, but let's go back to what you are saying. So you are the podcast owner of Wireless and Whiskey.
Whiskey and Wireless.
No, my God, I never get Whiskey and Wireless.
Yeah, and I'm not even
priority first. I think I follow it. You then take the seat. Ask question to yourself. What would you ask?
Oh, ask a question to myself.
Not an easy one.
It is not an easy one.
You have to work on it.
So the thing with ClearSky is just it sounds however it sounds, and I don't really care, but we really do care about the regional space because that's where we've been for a long time, and so it really is about what can we do to help the carriers make money. Also because we want to make money, right? We're not in it for charity, so we like to make money, but we need the carriers to make money as well. And so we need to find ways to increase that revenue stream, and that's what we do all the time. So right before this, we had all the company come down, and we all go to Disney for 3 days and do what we call the ClearSky Summit. And those are the questions we ask ourselves. Like, how can we, again, cheesy, but I do a word of the year, and the word of the year this year was healthy. And my stomach and Barcelona don't agree with that, but it's the word of the year was healthy. And it's about healthy relationships, right? And it's about building deeper relationships with these carriers. I don't want to be a vendor. I want to be a partner. And so we really work and act on doing that all the time. So that's really what we think about a lot. And that's, can we continue to replicate that in the RCS business model? I think we can, but that's the question that probably, keeps me not up at night, but worried during the day.
So healthy is your words of the day, and Nadima's got a question. I had a question.
Hi.
Nadima's
Hi, Lo.
so mine.
Hi. Hey, thanks, Ron, for sharing your your thoughts. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Question, these smaller carriers, are they coming to you for RCS, or do you find that you have to go to them and sell it?
So I think it's a mix, right? So there are some people. There are some people that have been hearing about RCS in that industry for 15 years. And so I like to call it RCS fatigue. A lot of them have RCS fatigue because they've been hearing about it from a competitor of ours, and there's been, keynotes and all this about it, but we really had to wait for Apple to get involved, right? And now Apple's involved. So now we go back and we talk to some of these guys about RCS, and they're like, yeah, we've heard this before. Like, this is, it's like the dream, right? And I'm like, no, this time, I'm like Lucy with the football, and the peanut. I'm like, this time, it's real. And I really do feel like it is real this time. And so we do have some carriers that call us. We probably have 4 or 5 that, are on that waiting list that call me all the time. And we'll get them done. And once we get 1 or 2 done, then it's just, the barn doors are going to open and they're all going to come. So we have another conference in April. And once we get Strata working at that conference, we should sign up 25 carriers. I mean, it'll be very easy at that point.
I guess a follow-on question would be, is this introducing because of this new technology for these smaller carriers, is it actually introducing more customers to you, or is it a value add to your existing customer base?
So there is myself and another company, and so we kind of control the whole regional space. So there probably won't be a lot of new customers in the U.S., I would imagine. It'll probably just be an add-on. We will get new because we're first, and so I think we'll go out and get more of those customers than our competitor. But as far as new customers, because of, and there's still some things that have to be sorted out. But like I said, we're extremely close. We have Apple working. I think that will help us in other regions, in Canada and the Caribbean, maybe other places as well. For carriers that look at where they are, maybe they've called Google and Google has said whatever. I can tell you that Google has sent me probably 5 carriers in the last 2 weeks to say, when ClearSky is ready, you should go talk to them because it's going to take a lot longer to talk to us. And so, yeah, I do think we'll get a lot of new customers for that. Maybe not in the U.S., but in other places. The one place in the U.S. that it will help a little bit is MVNOs, right? So MVNOs traditionally, all their A2P goes through their host network, and so they don't make any money off of that. And so I'm trying to find a way where they can participate in RCS so they're able to make some money on that, which probably isn't too popular with some people. But I really feel like that the person that owns the subscriber should be the person that makes the money off that subscriber. So there's that opportunity as well.
Great. I think the time is up, and I did try my best to sabotage your performance, no question.
You did a good job, yeah.
No, you did extremely well, and so well done. And apologies, it's all tongue-in-cheek, but...
No, this is great, yeah.
On a more serious note, one thing also on top of your radio, you have been involved in Desert Storm, you have been involved in the cavalry, so you have an entire experience.
I do, yes. So I'm staying away from certain areas right now, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Tell me.
It's why they do these things when we leave America. I don't know. It's almost like they have no regard for my travel schedule at all. So I don't know. It's tough.
To all of you that yourself have been involved in either side and so on, and are involved in conflicts and so on, our concern, thanks, and respect, all of that.
Yep.
To all of you, and more whiskey for you to share with everybody else.
I really enjoy it,
But
yes.
Thank you, and thanks for playing with us as well today.
Thank you.